It's funny how we do treat the cinema sometimes like a sort of just entertainment products where the people are free to say literally everything. Oh, I really can watch TV shows. I can watch any movies because I get bored. And it's funny and nice how we do sometimes treat the cinema like a sort of babysitter for the kids. When we do complain when something is too harsh and strong, and we are fine as long as the kids are entertained. These things are already annoying. No, I'm not lying, I swear. And I'm Snow White. And with the most acid intro that I ever done in this channel, guys, welcome to Cinema Freaks. Cinema Freaks is my new format, my new initiative where I would like to talk about cinema. I always talk about cinema in this channel, but I never had a kind of really regular format. And this time, let's try to be a tiny bit more professional and try to give my vision, my projection of the movie and my experience in this channel. And mind me, I'm not an expert. I'm not a cinema expert. I study on my own. I'm a self-taught. And even because my parents never really followed the PEGI 13 rating, so I literally watch anything that was landed on my hands. And I just want to bring these things in the channel. That's it. No more, no less. But now, let's stop beat around the bush and let's start off these Cinema Freaks with a movie that I deeply love. A movie about Steven Spielberg. The movie is Jaws. I was born and raised in Venice, the city of water. The sea and the water has really a key role in my life. If I'm ever gonna own a house, it has to be next to the seaside. I really need that kind of scenery in my life. And I tried to think I was just 4 when I saw my cousins and my family saw the movie for the first time. And the funny thing, it was already an old movie because I've been born actually in the 90s. And Jaws is class 1975. 1975 is the anniversary of the 50 years of Jaws. At the time I didn't even care about video games or cartoons. I just was waiting patiently to see the shark. And the most two iconic nose in the world, E and F. Okay, the funny thing is that you barely see the shark, so how is it possible that the people all this time, they didn't get bored because they didn't show the monsters in a way? And how is it possible that even for this modern standard that in Jaws is pretty much prehistoric in this kind of way, is still the best beast movie ever and still undefeated? Well, we have 2 easy answers. First one, be an artist, and the second one is Alfred Hitchcock. Steven Spielberg was the director of my childhood, and he literally started out, and the movie was a disaster, a total disaster. Jaws was supposed to be a B movie, really cheap movie. The shark itself, the animatronic, was a nightmare. Bruce, the animatronic shark, named after Spielberg's lawyer, it was built in a freshwater tank. Once touched the salt water, poof, all the mechanism get destroyed. So that's why Spielberg had to cut a lot or shark scenes. And that's the point. You're doing a kind of cheap movie to show the shark, to show all these mechanicals, and you don't show the shark for most of the movie. At a certain point, the director thought, okay, you know what, it's my 3rd movie, and okay, I didn't make it. It's gonna be the end of my career. But thanks God, that was not the thing. At a certain point, Spielberg, he remembered what Alfred Hitchcock, a great master, said. Don't show the monsters their way. Let the people imagine it. And he was right. I hate the horror nowadays that they just bet a lot on scream and jump scares. Sometimes your own mind is scarier than anything you can ever find in the world. Have you ever thought about when you're actually sleeping and you're awake but you're so afraid to turn your head because you think at a certain point to see a head or a face? Hitchcock understood that, and Jaws is the perfect representation of that. You don't really see the shark, but you feel it from a movement of the water, the lower camera, the music, the tension. That are the features that makes a great movie, especially on this genre. Sometimes creating something simple is way harder than creating something complex. And now let me talk about the great love, the music. The first time John Williams presented the theme actually to Spielberg, the director laughed. But when he heard the music, all the images, everything changed. It even solved out the situation. When the people say that essentially it's just the E and F, it's really true until a certain point. If you want to do it properly, you're supposed to do it in a certain way. The basic one are this. Slow. After you do half of the note, and faster and faster, you feel the tension, and done! The attack of the shark. The vertigo effect is in this scene where you have the trolley actually going back and zoom forward. It was really amazing. It created a kind of tension and dizziness on the background though. And you know, I'm talking about this because the same feeling of dizziness I had when I discovered that actually Jaws is based in a real story, based on the book, based on a true story. And when they saw a shark, it's still in the New England, in New Jersey, if I'm not wrong, a shark actually killed several people. And they're still debating about if it was the great white shark or a mako shark, but probably at 90% it was a mako shark. And funny thing, we have a tooth of a mako shark in his ear. You cannot imagine how sharp it is. It looks small, but it literally, I even tried to break it, but you really can't. And I cannot even imagine the fear and the pain of something like that. But Jaws wasn't just a movie. In the moment it was like an event and really shaped America and shaped all over the world, because at the end of the day, if you are from the West, America is still the main country that gonna influence all over the world. That's okay. And we really was afraid to go to the beach. Business lost a lot of money even because of the thing. And the shark really didn't really have a great popularity even before the movie, but after that it was really, really bad. Business lost a lot of money, and people, they even tried to be a superhero, try to be like Quint. So they even tried to hunt sharks for real, and some of them, they didn't ended up very well. And of course we have no right to do that, because you know, at the end of the day, it's their territory, so they not really try to kill us. Spielberg at a certain point even apologized for that, because he didn't meant to do any of that. But even because of this movie, the study went on, and we understood that we are more a danger to shark than the shark is itself to us. Because most of the time it's really, really, really rare, a shark attack. And most of the time it happens just because they confuse us with something else. But apparently they're not really very, very fond on the human flesh. Even though the tragic story of the USS Indianapolis, and by the way, it was the perfect representation to how to be an actor, you know, the Quint story. The people that didn't die because of shark. There was maybe a little percentage, but the 99% of the people that died because of dehydration. And we all know that movies are fiction, do we? Because I had the impression that sometimes we forget about something like that. For ironically, Jaws helped out a lot of the study of the activists, of the biologists, to learn more and more things, because people get very, very interested about the species, to know something about sharks. And it's incredible how the cinema was actually involved in something like that. That's why it's very important to do something artistically good. And ironically, this movie started to be just a cheap and undervalued and commercial movie. And look what happened. Many people believe, and I believe too, that Jaws created the concept of summer blockbuster. Oh, people realize that a cinema in the summer could be very, very profitable. A real gold mine. But the real danger is that the people now, they're gonna try to do cinema just to make money, not the other way around. That's why Jaws is still undefeated. I really love the movie from the 70s, really, because the actors, they really look like, allow me to, real and ugly. Not really ugly, but they weren't super polished like we saw in the Hollywood movie. The 70s was supposed to be like the kind of cinema of the new Hollywood, and I really, really love that. Even because on Jaws, the real main character wasn't a super good and beautiful actor, but was the shark itself. Especially when we saw a lot of shooting that they were below, tried to simulate the kind of shark's vision, and it totally unsettled us. We can even find a metaphor on the main core of the movie when three people went to hunt this massive great white shark. And it's just like a sort of fighting against ourselves, because if you think Brody was the chief of the police in this island, but he's afraid of water. He's afraid of water and you live in an island. It's scary. Hooper is a biologist that he knows a lot of things, but so far he didn't do anything meaningful so far. Quint, he was affected by trauma because with the USS Indianapolis, he lost many comrades, lost many people. That's why he dedicated all his life to this thing. It's like a sort of obsession. And by the way, even the boat that we saw sank for real, but it wasn't supposed to sink. And try to think that they've actually kept the recording. Try to think how much of an artist was Spielberg, because the boat was sinking down and he kept all the recordings, and the problem that there were the actors and all the tools, I believe would be something impossible nowadays. And when there was a scene of the Brody actually showing some blood on the sea, a real shark appeared. It's incredible how Jaws changed really our mind and our perception of maybe movie, but especially underwater. Steven Spielberg itself, he left the last day of shootings because he was afraid of a kind of tradition. The tradition apparently is, if you're a new director, young directors, essentially, you're supposed to be thrown in the water after the ending of the shootings. And Spielberg was really afraid of these things. Do you really think that at a certain point maybe he forgot that he was just shooting a movie? Or he started off to be scared about his own movie and the water and his own creature? I think it's fine as the first video. I'm trying to do a little bit of experimentation. And if you ever arrive and here at this point, you are a legend. Thank you very much. I don't know when I'm gonna release a new format of Cinema Freak. Probably I will try it one per month. I still need to decide the second movie, but I have a couple of ideas, and I really hope you enjoyed that. And if the format is gonna be successful, I will actually carry on. So, if you heard the music at the very beginning, it was music composed by me that has been inspired by the first two notes of Jaws, actually the whole note of Jaws. So I have nothing to say. See you again, and thank you very much for the video. It was actually a very good experience. I mean, the video about Jurassic World experience, and thank you guys. See you next time.